Hi, I'm Tova Redmo, trainee life coach, special needs mum and former project manager in the city. How are you all today? Welcome back to my coaching channel. I am going to spend this vlog talking about what to do when people say insensitive shit. In particular, I am thinking about insensitive shit said that relates to your disabled child. Special needs mum, right? But it actually works with any kind of insensitive shit that people say. And I might possibly pull back a little bit on the use of the word shit. A little bit. So what kind of things do people say? I have had, but she'll get better when she gets older, right? Which has always left me stumped and going, no, she's probably gonna get worse. And then that conversation falls very flat very fast. Somebody posted on a special needs group in Facebook that people have said, well, it could be worse. Which kind of deserves the response, no shit, Sherlock. Oh, there it was again, sorry. And of course, the absolutely worst one I've ever heard, which was, well, it was for the best, when a colleague's disabled little child passed away. Yeah, no, it wasn't. So how should you respond when people say something to you that you find insensitive, that you find ignorant? Well, exactly how to respond is entirely up to you. But there are some things you might want to consider in order to work on your responses in general. And I'm not talking about necessarily right in that moment. Because right in that moment, depending on how upset you are, you may or may not be able to say anything. But thinking about it when you can and consider your responses will help you going forwards in knowing how you want to handle a situation when it arises. So what is it that you think and feel in the moment? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself that? So for example, the "it could be worse" comment might leave you feeling invalidated, like your situation isn't that serious, like the difficulties you feel are not that difficult. And maybe you feel angry because of that. Maybe you feel misunderstood. That's definitely how I felt when people said, oh, well, she'll get better when she gets older, right? I felt like they didn't understand the situation at all. No, Elin has brain damage. She will never heal from this. So I felt really misunderstood. Maybe you feel defensive. Feel the need to defend yourself, your family, your child. So how do you feel? When you encounter comments like this, how do you feel? And have you thought about how you would like to respond and why? So the thing that actually prompted me to record this vlog, I have been meaning to for a very long time, but the thing that prompted me to record it today was this question in the Facebook forum, because the poster wanted to know if there was a better response than no shit. And of course, I'm then wondering, what is wrong with no shit? Like, why not respond with that? What's the problem there? And I'm guessing, I really don't know because I'm not this person at all, but I'm guessing that maybe you're worried about upsetting the person you're replying to. In which case, I think it would be interesting for you to try and understand why you're worried about upsetting them. What is it within you that stops you from saying something that might upset somebody else? And I might add to this that ultimately, you don't actually cause other people's feelings. You don't upset other people. What upsets other people is how they think about what you say. Which is the same with the insensitive comments. The insensitive comment in itself is not upsetting. It is the thoughts that you have about it that make it upsetting to you. That being said, I think we can all agree that there are some phrases, some words, some things that are probably quite common for people to react to in an upset way. to have a thought about it that makes them feel upset. And perhaps you're trying to mitigate that. First of all, you don't have to mitigate it. You are allowed to say things that upset other people. Just as other people are allowed to say insensitive shit that upsets you. We can't control others. We can only work on ourselves, right? But do you want a kinder response, a more mellow response because you don't like upsetting other people? Well, what would that response look like for you? Have you stopped to think about where they're coming from when they say this? Because that is an interesting one. Is it really a matter of them being insensitive? Or is it a matter of them, well, being hapfully ignorant? That might not sound like a very good excuse, but bear with me. I've had the "she'll get better when she gets older" right comment quite a lot of times, and the people I've had that from, well, they have no reason to understand how brain injuries work. Lucky them, right? Lucky them, but they don't know necessarily that dead brain cells are dead and they never regenerate. You can kill off part of your liver and it will regenerate, but you kill off part of your brain, that part is gone. And they might not know this. Or they might actually be so worried about saying something wrong that they end up saying something wrong. Like they are there second guessing themselves. Oh, this is a difficult situation. I don't know how to respond. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And then they put their foot in their mouth anyway. Maybe it's coming from a place of care. It could be worse, might be their way of saying, hey, look at the positive sides of this. It just perhaps didn't come out that way. Maybe the person who said it's for the best genuinely thought that she was voicing a helpful and comforting sentiment. She did not say it to the person, I might add. So considering where a person saying something might be coming from, you don't know. You're not in their head. But thinking about where their words might be coming from might put you in a position of compassion and curiosity, and instead of in a position of anger and defensiveness. And that's why I'm suggesting it. But you really don't have to, actually. You can just focus on yourself. And talking about focus on yourself, you may very well turn around to me now and go, whoa, I do not have the time to sit down and think about all of these things. Like, seriously, woman, who has the time in the day to overanalyze and overthink all of this stuff in response to one little sentence? And I hear you. That is very similar to what my response used to be whenever somebody said, you have to practice self-care. Although admittedly my response was a lot shorter, 2 words, one beginning with F. Of course you don't have to. You don't have to do any of the things that I suggest to you. You can ignore every single word I say. You're very welcome to ignore every single word I say. I might just be sitting here talking to myself. I'm good with that. But I would suggest that it is worth considering these things when you can. And here's why. Because boundaries. And boundaries is something that I talk a lot about in coaching sessions with my clients. And if you want to work on boundaries with me, you are very welcome to email me on tova@parentxp to book a free 20-minute consultation call so that we can explore what kinds of things you want to work on and whether my way of working suits you and which of my various packages are right for you. I do a 6-week package and I do a 12-week package. You can also buy a single 1-hour session directly from our website, which is www.parentxp.org. But yes, boundaries. Knowing in your mind what you think is acceptable and not acceptable to say. And also knowing how you will respond to something that you think is unacceptable. Boundaries don't just happen. If you want to have effective boundaries, then you need to think about them. You need to consider them. What is the thing that you find unacceptable and what is your response going to be when that thing happens? I did not have sufficient boundaries in place, and I did not know how to respond to insensitive shit. But I'm much more confident now that if somebody says something insensitive to me with regards to my child, I am much more capable of handling that situation, of responding in a way that makes me proud of me. And this is the other reasons why you might actually really want to take the time to think about your thoughts and reactions when you hear things like this. Because if you don't, you will respond instinctively. And you might not like what that response is. And you might beat yourself up for it going forward. This is actually what happened with that truly insensitive comment that I heard. I was so shocked when I heard it that I didn't reply. And I am embarrassed about this. I really am. One day I'm going to stop beating myself up over it. But this is part of my boundary work, right? But I am embarrassed that I did not reply. I would have wanted to reply for the sake of all parents everywhere who lose a child. I wanted to have responded in some way, just to mark that perhaps she would want to reconsider what she said. All of the things that I've suggested in this vlog are common thought work tools and techniques, and they can be adjusted and adapted to different things. So somebody says insensitive shit, okay, consider, how does that make you feel? How do you want to respond? Why do you want to respond that way? Maybe a little bit of compassion and curiosity about where they came from. Not necessarily, but perhaps. And thinking about what are your boundaries in this instant. And you can then apply these tools on pretty much anything in your life. I mean, people may very well upset you for completely different reasons than saying something insensitive about your child, right? They might say something insensitive to you or behave in a way that you don't like. And again, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? How do you want to respond? Why? Maybe a little bit of curiosity and compassion. And what are your boundaries? You can really use these techniques on a lot of different things. And together with me, you can explore in much more details areas where you want to set boundaries, what you want your boundaries to be, what you want your response to be when a boundary is broken, and you can practice these things. So email me at tova@parentxp.org to book a free 20-minute consultation session, or go to my website and look at what I'm offering there. And I'm curious to know, what kind of insensitive shit have people said to you? And how have you responded to it and why? And also what your thoughts are around boundary setting. What areas are you setting boundaries in your life and how are you enforcing them? So you have a whole beautiful comment field below this vlog. Please add your comments. If you're not a subscriber to this channel already, then please hit the subscribe button. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Bye.